Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. So last time in the first video in this series we talked about using broken watches and watch parts in accessories for your junk journals. So this was one of the little projects I did. Just added a photo in there. So if you missed that, you can just go check it out if you're interested. Today we're going to talk about incorporating keys of different sizes and colors into your projects. So I'm talking about old shed keys, old apartment keys, car keys, whatever you have in your junk drawer. You can also oftentimes pick them up at thrift stores or yard sales. A lot of times you'll get them in the very shiny silver color, and that might not be the look you're going for. So I'm just going to show you quickly something that you can do to make your modern keys look a little more vintage or aged. The way I do that is with alcohol ink. It sticks to metal and it just makes things look older. So any of the brown colors in these Tim Holtz Ranger varieties will do. And I've got my little silver key here, and I've got some sandpaper, and I'm just going to sand it a little bit. And even if you don't sand it, the alcohol ink will stick anyways. And I just drop it on there randomly, and then with the tip I spread the ink around. And it doesn't take very long for it to dry. I gave it about 10 minutes to dry. This is the front that I did on camera, and the back I just colored by swirling it in the leftover ink on the plastic. So it looks like a rusted old key. Something you can do with your keys now is decorate the front of them, or the front and the back if you like. If you like the steampunk look, you could use broken watch parts and just glue them on. You'll need some jewelry glue for this, something that'll stick to metal. I use E6000. It's very smelly, so you want to be in a ventilated room when you're doing that, with the windows open. Or you just hang other little embellishments with the key, and that just gives it a charming look as well. So you can hang little jewelry embellishments, little dangles, little charms, anything you have on hand. Something else you can do with keys is, especially if you have matching ones, a lot of times when you buy padlocks or bike locks, that kind of thing, they come with two keys. So I've got these really pretty gold ones, and they are interesting looking, so I don't really need to embellish them. I'm going to take them off of this little ring here. What you could do is use them for a closure on your book. So you would just want the hole to be peeking out just enough so that you could loop in some ribbon or seam binding in there. And then you'd have one on the back as well. Just attach it like this. Or you could tuck them into the front cover on the inside and just have them peek out like that. So that's another option, so that when you open your book you can see the key on the inside. Now I'm going to show you a project for the larger keys. So what I have in my junk drawer are some watch parts that are a little different. This one here, when you take the back off, I was able to take the mechanism out, but the watch face itself is going to stay in there. And the hands are loose in there because they were attached to the mechanism, which I removed. So this would make a nice little embellishment on a journal cover. So that's something that I'm going to set aside. With this one here, when I took the back off, the whole watch face and mechanism came out in one piece. So this is going to go into my project, and this I'll be able to use on another cover, much like the recent journal I showed you where I had a gentleman and his owl, his pet owl. So that's something I could do with this because I still have the back of this and I still have the glass. So this I'm going to set aside as well. So what I've got here is the watch face and the mechanism on the back. Now I could remove this if I want, and if I do that, that means the hands are also going to come off, which is fine. But I do like the fact that this little mechanism piece is flat, and if I were to glue it on my key, it would give it a raised, it would be raised on it. So I'm going to leave it on. Something else I have in the things that I want to use up are these little flat, ornate little butterflies, and these I got from Butterbee Scraps several years ago. I'm not sure if she still has them in stock, but they are really nice, and they were available in a couple of colors. So I've got the pewter sort of gray here, and I also have them in a copper color. And I originally purchased these so that I could have them on the front of my journal covers as well. But I decided these would make really pretty little fairies. So what I do is I glue this to the back of the key, and then I glue the watch face on the front. And like I showed you earlier, I've got a few of these little ornamental pieces. So this would look really cute on the bottom, like that. And another type I have are these. So that would make a little crown for the fairy. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to glue these two little ornamental pieces to the back of my watch face. I don't have the precision tip on here right now, but because it's on the back, I don't think it's going to matter much. Okay, so this is setting just enough that I can glue it to the front, and then I can set it all aside. So I want to make sure that I'm also lining it up on the front so that I have space to loop my hanger on the top there. So these are a couple more I made, and they're very similar. This one here has the oval face on it, and I had a jewelry bezel that I just put it into first, and then I added a little crown element on the top. And with this one, I had those jewelry bails left over, and I stuck it on there because the key was sort of, the hole for the key is sort of behind the bezel, so I needed something to hang from, so I added that on this one. This one here is very similar to the one that's drying right now. It's got these little elements on the bottom and a little crown on the top, and I also put the bail on this one because the key hole was hidden by the crown. If you don't have watch faces but you have bottle caps, you could use something like this. And what I've got here is I punched out a little face, so you could glue that in there. And then you could give your fairy some wings with these paper leaves. If you have book corners, these would make nice wings too if you turn them this way. Instead of being a book corner like that, you could just turn it on an angle, and that would give your little fairy little wings like that. You could also just decorate with buttons and add some twine in there and tie a bow. So there's just all kinds of ways you could use these keys. Here's one of those little paper dolls from Tim Holtz. This is another butterfly I have, so he would look cute with wings as well. And then your key would be hidden behind him, but you would have the use of the loop here at the top. Now we can talk about hanging your key charms. You don't need anything fancy. You could use like broken jewelry, which is something that I do a lot. I have a lot of these necklaces that have some really nice chain on them, but it's just a little tarnished, which would work really well with these kinds of things. So I just break off a piece that I need, and I add jump rings either from the same necklace if they're still on there. So depending on the chain type, I either go in and open up one of the links, or I use my wire cutters and I just cut it. It depends on how thick the chain is. And if the chain is too big to fit inside the bail, then I would have to put a jump ring. If you're using the actual keyhole to loop a hanger through, then your wider chain will fit in there. So I often just do it this way. And then on the two ends here, I'll put a clasp. So I've got my clasp and I've got a jump ring. So I'm just going to put the jump ring through the end of the chain on both sides. And then I'm going to put my clasp in there as well. And then I can close it. So now I've got my key, and I've got a way to hang it to the rest of a charm, or to a little hanger on the spine, or just anywhere. If you wanted something quicker, you could just use small binder rings. You could use the key rings that the keys often come with, or you can just use plain old wire. This one here is a 24 gauge. It's really pliable and works really well to attach all kinds of little charms to the keys, to the chains, just about anywhere. So I hope that this has given you a few ideas and that you'll raid your junk drawer and stash of old necklaces and supplies to see if you can come up with your own key charms. And I will be back real soon with some more ideas. Bye!